Tonight on Point Blank, my guest is an NDC member who is running in an orphan seat. Orphan seats are seats where the NDC has no sitting MP. One such constituency is Okaikoi Central in the Greater Accra region. And Baba Sadiq is one of the persons hoping to represent the NDC on the ticket. You're welcome to Point Blank.
Thank you very much.
How are you?
Well, I'm good, but in the last few weeks, days have been very hectic. Running around, meeting delegates and engaging them.
I'm not sure this should stress you. You are used to stress.
Exactly.
You used to go and pitch and put tents in the Shy Hills Game Reserve, and you don't even invite me, even though it's in my backyard. You go and sit with my monkeys for my baboons without even inviting me.
Yeah. But I'll invite you to the next one.
Oh, no, I don't. This is a political promise. I'm not going to trust you. If you had said it last year, I'll trust you. But this political promise,
but you were looking forward to attending last year's event.
Yes, and then something happened.
Do you
want to talk about it? Okay, for those who don't know Baba Sadiq, who are you?
Well, so Baba Sadiq, it's primarily worked in the media and entertainment industry. My background is in communications. Until recently, I was the CEO of the 3 Media Networks, which is the owners of 3 Music TV, and also the 3 Music Awards. I'm also the founder of the Wilderland Foundation, which is in charge of the Wilderland Festival. And so in essence, that's who Baba Sadiq is. But I've primarily worked in the media and entertainment industry for some time.
So you've been doing entertainment stuff, entertainment awards. That's the 3 Music Awards.
Yes, the last few years was dedicated to the 3 Music Awards and so running the 3 Music TV.
And you have also been doing the Wilderland
Festival.
How is Ghana's tourism like from your perspective? What is the problem with Ghana's tourism sector?
I think our problem
is it fair to say Wilderland is a tourism thing?
Yeah, it's a tourism destination.
So what is the problem with our tourism sector that you think we can address?
A few issues on how you can avail or unlock funding for practitioners or the people that work within the value chain. Mm-hmm. What we've seen in the last few years is that our biggest flagship project or program has always been the year of return in the last few years especially. And the biggest problems with it has always been inavailability of funding for the people that provide the content for the events and activities that drive attention to the country. There's been a bit of a challenge also owing to the fact that the sponsorship market has crashed. In the last 3 to 4 years, the sponsorship market has almost been non-existent due to all the socioeconomic factors that the country has faced. And if you look at it, the sponsorship market used to be the point where producers or people that create the activities that set our holiday maker status, for instance, look to for some bit of initial funding to fund some of these activities. So once that is crashed, there's a need for us to find other means to raising capital, to organizing all the big events and all the big projects that we see. 2 days ago, 3 days ago, had that one of the major events in the last 2 years, Afro Nation is going to Lagos.
It's not coming here.
It's not coming here. And part of the problems, I was associate producer of Afro Nation in year 1. And part of the problem has always been now structurally the lack of avenues to raising some bit of initial capital here or making some more revenues from sponsorship. Makes it a bit difficult.
But despite all the challenges, there was Afro Nation last year, there was Afro Chella, but you failed, the Wilderland failed, even though people were anticipating that you carry them to the Shy Hills Game Reserve where they were going to have a wonderful time together. So then it's your problem. It's not the national problem. No,
so that wasn't my problem. In the first year, for instance, when we came on with Wilderland, we never had that kind of problem in terms of the funding, regardless of how difficult it is for other producers. Last year, for instance, we had already put out our communications, but there was this disagreement with the Forestry Commission that wasn't resolved early. So by the time we got around solving the issue, it was difficult to put that together. The Wilderland Festival, in the ways that we see it, takes some time to make it happen. You're having to power more or less like an entire village over time. It's like a pop-up village of a sort where you create a whole community within in the middle of a forest reserve, lighting, tents, everything.
Where there is no electricity already.
And so it requires a lot of work. And if anybody that has seen Baba Sadiq work will tell you how I do not want to leave gaps. in doing these things.
But there are people who hold the view that a lot of state actors and state institutions are the problem when it comes to these events, organization, and so on. Now, you mentioned the Forestry Commission. Is it a suggestion that the problem came from the Forestry Commission?
Yes, the problem did come from the Forestry Commission. Also, because
that they were not allowing you to do what
I think the Forestry Commission didn't see the overarching vision and what we saw. I mean, we had seen an event that could unlock a long-term value for the Forestry Commission. For instance, after year one, they themselves will tell you that visitations to the Shire Forest Reserve had gone up more than 100%.
Okay.
And there was a lot more we wanted to do. We recognized that they had some operational challenges at the Shire Forest Reserve. We wanted to, through the event, for instance, be able to run a project that could avail some operational logistics to them, like a vehicle that we're trying to apply to Nissan to be given to them to help them meet some of the operational challenges. Again, because they didn't have a lot of accommodation facilities, we wanted to avail the tent. The tent that you saw at Wilderland Festival belongs to us. And so we wanted to avail it for them all year round. In fact, some of my tents are still at Forestry Commission. In fact, there's a tussle as to whether they're going to release almost all my tents for me or they're going to hold on to it. In the last 2 weeks, I went there looking for all my tents. I was angry because my point was that you can't say to me you don't see any value except money and heavy funds and nothing else, and then you want to hold on to my assets. I would better off put it down than to avail it to you. But I think that was a challenge.
Very well. So that's entertainment. Let's talk about politics now. Why do you want to do politics? You are doing fine in entertainment.
Yeah.
You are a recognized brand. You've organized all these things in the past. Why do you want to go to politics? People think politics is dirty. Why do you want to go and soil your hands?
But I don't think I disagree that politics is dirty, first and foremost. But I think I kind of evolved into it. In the last 10 years especially, I've been sort of a youth opinion leader in the constituency, where I've been organizing a lot of social events, lifestyle events, medical events in the constituency. And I've also been available for a number of the young people. I mean, trying to enable them one way or the other, either through job placements, making funds available for them to learn a skill or two and all. And so I kind of evolved into it. And so having been doing that and also being a member of the NDC Okaikoi Central for some time, it sort of came as a call, particularly after seeing me work with the party as a spokesperson for the tourism, art and culture sector in the 2020 elections campaign. Having seen that and experienced what I did, then the call started to come. That, you're a member of us here. You've already been impacting society with all the things you've been doing in the last 10 years. And so we kind of think that it's time for us to have somebody that emerged from us, was born with us, grew up here, and has been able to, show some glimpse of brilliance in whatever he does. And already you're impacting in the society, and you're also closer to leadership. And so why not?
So have you always been NDC?
Yeah, I've always been NDC.
From home? Is it a family thing, or you are the only one who chose to be NDC in your house?
Yeah, well, my mom was a regional executive in the Greater Accra region, but I sort of socialized with the NDC in Okaikoi Central and then joined the NDC in Okaikoi Central, and I've always identified with the NDC all this while.
Because it's a national broadcast. Those who don't know Okaikoi Central, which towns make up Okaikoi Central?
So this Fadama, Abeka, Nyamiche, La Paz, what's the place called? Boche, Flat Top. Did I mention Tesano?
Okay.
All to Abeka Central. So in essence, where your TV station is, it's within the Okaikoi Central.
So Tesano is in Okaikoi Central. Right. Now, you mentioned Fadama. That is known as the hub of the National Chief Imam. What's your relationship with him?
I've got a very good relationship with him. In fact, I've always been serving the Chief Imam in varied roles. Either helping to organize some of his events, doing protocol, doing all sort of different arrangements and anything that he asked that I do for him. He's more of a grandfather to me. Okay. And then spiritual guide and spiritual leader as well. I see.
So let's test your knowledge of the NDC. What are the principles that the NDC is built on?
Well, principles of probity and accountability, and most importantly, comradeship.
What do they mean? The probity, accountability, social justice that they keep repeating. What does it mean?
Well, it means exactly what it means in terms of
practical terms. So currently in Ghana, why do we need those principles? What are they? Why do we need them?
Well, it's become even much more important to have accountable leadership now more than ever. I mean, in the last few months, what has been the biggest conversation we've been having? We've been having conversations in and around corruption. And there's big conversations around what all the funds that the government got within their resource envelope was used for. There's a lot of questions regarding where did all these funds go to? So there's a need for leadership to account to the people so that, the people or the citizens will be fully aware whether the funds that had been spent or claimed to have been spent was used judiciously. So it's become even much more important today, particularly where the citizens can't see anything where that warranted the huge use of the funds that has been spoken about. Why are we going to the IMF, for instance, looking for policy credibility and also looking to assessing some funds across the world? Now the question is that if there's a particular government that got more in its resource envelope over the last few years, if there's a particular government that borrowed more, if there's a particular government that was left with some bit more funds in some innovative vehicles like the X-Line Co. Until now, we still can't pinpoint to specific things, significant infrastructure development, for instance, that you can point to. Then it raises the questions of what was these funds used for? So it's become even much more important today to seek for accountability for leadership than before.
When it comes to issues of IMF, you don't have any clean hands in it, do you? You were the last guys who took us to the last IMF, and you also went there to seek policy credibility. You have no locus to condemn anybody at this time, do you?
In this particular instance, we are having to call the hypocrisy, particularly of the MPP. What did the MPP say when we went to the IMF? What were some of the things?
You went to IMF.
Exactly. What were some of the things that we did different? We called. There was wide stakeholder consultations in terms of engaging civil society organizations, engaging the relevant stakeholders within the space, and having a conversation in seeking direction in terms of what do we represent to the IMF. Recently, the civil society platform had commended the NDC government for the ability to consult widely. The ability to consult widely, and most importantly, pursuing that particular option.
Does it matter? Does it matter if they consult widely or not? The burden is on them to develop the country, and if they think that they are going to go solo to IMF and come back with a program, so be it. It does not matter who they consult, does it?
Well, it does. It does to a great deal, particularly where the stakeholders needed to know and understand. Because government needed to carry along the stakeholders on the new journey in identifying what roles would they play in the new scheme of things and what is about to happen.
What is wrong? What is wrong with our economy?
Well, I think that in the last few years, it's been the consumption and the fact that the state having found the needed reason to make certain significant investment in other sectors or industries that could unlock benefits for the country. I, particularly coming from the tourism sector, I see the potential the tourism sector presents to the state, for instance, but it doesn't come with the necessary investment that we expect to see in the last few years. By 2025, there's a projection that the tourism industry needed to generate about 5 billion to the state. How much more are we looking from the IMF? 3 billion. And so if you're looking to have this from a particular sector, it needs to come with that investment that would open it up, that would enable the industry and ensure that they run that much needed commerce that will bring that.
So the attention should shift to that. What do you think the NDC, or what is the NDC planning to do in that regard?
Well, there's a number of things we had promised in the last few years. starting from our 2020 manifesto. There are things we've promised relative to creating a lot more jobs. There are things we've promised relative to training people and ensuring that they're able to create sustainable livelihoods of themselves so they can be able to live within their economy very well and also contribute their quota to the economy. So there's a number of things that we had promised from 2020 within the 2020 manifesto. And then even now, in the last 2 years, you've seen a number of the proposals that had come from His Excellency Imran Mahama, for instance. You've seen the proposal that have come from the party relative to having to reduce government expenditure, relative to having to ensure that the funds are judiciously used or are used for the investment that's needed to unlocking benefit for the country. I mean, everybody speaks about the Terminal 3, for instance. The Terminal 3 was a particular investment that was made to be able to drive benefits to the country, because it's a project that could fund itself and also raise significant revenue for the country. These are about some of the things that the NDC has always spoken about in times past and going forward. These are about some of the things that we've always insisted that needs to happen.
If you got a chance to go to Parliament and in January 2025 you are sworn in as a member representing the people of Okaikoi Central, what would be your priorities in the House? Not in the constituency, but in the House. Legislative duties in the chamber.
Well, ideally, I mean, the work of the member of Parliament is to make laws. And so definitely, as and when, depending on how you know that a number of the laws that is made at the Parliament is dictated to by the executive. I mean, the executive will make the necessary proposals that would ensure that we work. And then again, a number of the things that would happen regarding my activity would also come from leadership. Leadership reserves the sole right to determine which committee I serve on, for instance, or which specific role I play. So to a large extent, it will depend on the factors that happen when I go into Parliament.
But you can also
most importantly for me, primarily the interest would be now that everybody knows that ideally the role of the parliamentary member of Parliament is to be a lawmaker, a legislator. But we know that the role today has morphed into all sorts. It goes beyond just being a lawmaker. It goes beyond your committee work, for instance. It goes beyond how you can leverage your insights, your experience, your understandings of specific areas of the economy. It goes beyond that to include how to directly provide certain benefits to your people.
We'll get to that.
We've understood that today.
Yeah, so we'll get there. But since there's this clause of private members' bill where you can also bring your own law to the House, considering that it meets all the necessary criteria, is there something you feel in your heart that ought to become law that you possibly be proposing if you got a chance? Or is there some law that you think should be removed from our books? Or is there some law currently that you think you would be supporting or against?
For me, I mean, specifically also having come from the tourism and creative industries and having operated in this industry for some time and having identified that it's one of the powerful industries that could unlock massive benefits for the country. I've already spoken about the projection that it's going to make about $5 billion for the country. And so I would want to see a lot more laws being enacted to enable industry, or some of them amended. For instance, the copyright bill needs to be amended. There's an ally that's so waiting to be passed.
The copyright bill or act?
The Copyright Act needs to. There are certain portions of it that needs to be amended. There's a part of it that, for instance, directs that fees from blank CDs, which is called a blank CD levy, should be given to the copyright organizations. But as it stands now, it's limited. People do not bring blank CDs into the country anymore. However, there are a lot of communication devices in the country that still transmit and broadcast audiovisual content.
So it could be pen drives instead of CDs.
At a point in time, it was amended to include pen drives. Okay. But now you know that audiovisual content is consumed not through pen drive and CDs, but also from the mobile phones, from the television, from the cars and everything. So these are some of the laws that I would want to have it amended.
In your constituency, what are the people hungry for that you want to satisfy them?
Well, sustainable livelihood is a big deal in our constituency. And when I say sustainable livelihood, that includes how you can avail jobs to the over 70% of the constituents who are young people and are looking for jobs. Most importantly, how you can direct even hand skills and training for a number of them that are looking for that, but do not have what you call the utrinsa, for instance, to pay for the training. It's become a big deal. Beyond that as well, I believe that in the constituents, one of the big conversations that has always been had is that as an urban constituency, as Okaikoi Central, by now, and having had an MP that has been at the helm for 12 years, they should be speaking about a modern public hospital. I mean, something that looks and feel as the Lekma Hospital. It's always been some of the things. We don't have that yet. But jobs is
a La Paz Community Hospital, not in your
It's private.
Oh, it's private. Okay,
I'm talking about a significant public, hospital or health center that could, address the health needs of the people. Most importantly, and you see, when you have a public hospital, it's an economic system in a way. It's not just, it doesn't only address the health needs of the people. When you build in and around the hospital, the hospital could enable a whole value chain that provides, or that also enables the prosperity of the people and also enables the sustainable livelihood that I speak about.
I drive in your constituency. Asphalt road is not a problem for you. Your roads are pretty good, and they
also owing to the fact that it has some of the major roads, and so for every government, central government, there's the need for you to having to ensure that some of these roads.
It's not credit to the member of parliament who lobbied and got that done.
Like I said, Okaikoi Central has some of the major road networks that connect La Paz to Circle, that connects La Paz to Accra, that connects the N1 road, part of the N1 road,
to Dakuma
and Dansuman. And so for every central government that wants to enhance, for every government that wants to enhance productivity, there's the need for you to ensure that some of these roads are done. We understand that some of these things were directed from the plans that the urban roads, the plans that the
we're rolling out
highways had rolled out, and so some of these things were included on that. I don't think that there should be a certain special mention.
You have slum communities in your constituency, don't you? What do they need, these slum communities?
Well, like I said, sustainable livelihoods. They want their lives to be maintained either by availing jobs for them.
This government has what it calls inner city development. Has that not affected them positively? For which reason?
I'm yet to see specifically some of the things that has been done in Okaikoi Central constituency from that particular program.
Let's talk about your own internal elections. You are going to go against anybody, or are going to unopposed?
I'm going against three other candidates.
And you think you can beat all of them? Why?
Well, I think that, there are certain things that makes me a refreshingly different candidate. The fact that Baba Sadiq resonates with the 4 voting blocks in the constituency, particularly for the NDC. There's this hard to reach one block that I resonate with very well, particularly the youthful. The Akan block has been one of the hardest to reach block of the NDC in the constituency. Of course, we do get. So we've got the 4 blocks are the Akan block. We've got the Gardame block. We've got the Vota Ewe block. We've got the Muslim Zongo Northern block. So these are the 4 voting blocks. And so for the NDC to win in the Okaikoi Central, you will need a candidate that resonates with these 4 voting blocks. Beyond having a candidate that resonates with these 4 voting blocks, you need a candidate that understands the needs of the people and is innovative enough to be able to creating their ideas that could turn them into solutions for the people. Most importantly, you need, in fact, from 96 till now, the constituents have indicated to us how they vote. The constituents have indicated to us the kind of personalities they would want to vote for them to become their members of parliament. I think it's fair to say that Baba Sadiq represents all these qualities and more for the constituency. And so this I think makes me different from other
So you
candidates.
think you can penetrate all these 4 blocks and it would help you? And that will make you defeat the other 3 persons you are campaigning with and make you the NDC's flag bearer. Flag bearer at the local level. Candidates.
Right.
So you're going to be the torchbearer of the party over there. You are going to go against Patrick Boama. He has experience. 3 years, 3 terms, is it?
Yeah,
or
3
4
terms. 3 terms.
How are you going to defeat him?
Well, it starts by recognizing that, Patrick has been a formidable candidate in the last 3 elections, but he can be beaten. I cannot specifically mention some of the tactics or strategies we want to engage in, but I think that having a Baba Sadiq in the race against Patrick Boama is all the NDC needs to win that particular constituency. The Okaikoi Central has the tendency to become one of the safest seats of the NDC in Greater Accra region.
Have you ever won it, though, NDC?
The only time we ever won it was when we were all together as Okaikoi North.
Okay.
And then we won it in 92. And then
so that's
since
it.
2012.
So it's a very blue seat.
It's a very blue seat, of course. Like I said, if you put it together, out of the 4 voting blocks, 46% of them are Akans. And so you will need a candidate that you can use to protect the 54% that historically have been voting for the NDC in the constituency, and one whose personality, whose mindset, whose ideas, and the kind of campaign he would wage, right, together with the team, would be able to attract particularly the youthful segment of that kind of population. And so you would need in this particular race, a Baba Sadiq in the race changes the dynamics. Of course, the constituents will tell you that we've never had this kind of spotlight but for a Baba Sadiq in the race. it signifies that there's a refreshingly different approach that is coming that could tilt the scales in the favor of the NDC.
Baba Sadiq, NDC Parliamentary hopeful, Okaikoi Central. Thank you for joining us on Point Blank. I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, sir.